Hey peeps, it's Tripl-L, and now it's time to talk Fairy Tail Chapter 512, Sting, the White Shadow Dragon. And before I continue, I just want to say I apologize for the late upload. I have been very busy for the last few days, and you may have noticed because things have kind of slowed down on the channel in terms of how much videos I'm uploading. I apologize. I am very sorry. I'm actually really surprised that I got time to sit down today, but I have a few hours, which is incredible. But yeah, I apologize. Most likely I might be delayed even further as the week goes on. Angry anime fan, if you're watching, I want to apologize. It probably means I'm gonna take a little bit longer getting back to any of this comments or discussions that you start. But anyway, let's get into this chapter, because I did take time to look through the comments to see what people are saying, because you know, every time that there's a conclusion of a fight, people aren't going to feel that great about it. And so I wanted to see what today's flavor was, and it was effectively people getting upset that Sting, of all people, was the one to take down Rakade, who had been hyped up to be at the level of Eileen and August. And then there was also the talk about how August said only his mother could take down Rakade. And you know, in my opinion, actually, this chapter, I enjoyed it. I legitimately enjoy Fairy Tail when they give me a really engaging battle chapter. And I think there is a logic here that justifies why Sting won. And yeah, I know it's Sting. I know that some people don't feel that great about him. I know people don't like that he got overly emotional and surrendered when he could have won. But, you know, Sting's character, in between him and Rogue, I prefer Rogue more. But Sting's character, like, I liked him this time because it was really showing something pretty interesting. Now the thing is, people in Fairy Tail, their magic is effectively their main weapon. Rakade in this chapter was saying that he could effectively take on Acnologia. He thought he could take on Acnologia because his magic was based on desires. The desire to sleep, the desire for nice fun times, and the desire for food. So when you think about it like that on a principle level, like, yeah, maybe it could deal with Acnologia. Although we've seen how this power can be thwarted. So I think there is some overestimation happening on the Spriggan 12 side, because August was building up that power and Rakade was also building up his power, or hyping up his power. But we saw in the previous chapter that even the hunger spell could have been overcome, because we saw Fro overcome it based on his logic of his caring for Rogue. And in this chapter we saw that Sting overcame the effects of sleep by taking advantage of the magic's special characteristic, the shadow magic special characteristic. And so it really puts it in a very interesting position. Now, the main reason I will accept that Sting won, aside from like the really good showing from both parties, is because, like I said before, magic is the big thing for a mage in Fairy Tail. The only people whose magic seems to kind of influence their physical abilities seem to be the Dragon Slayers, because the Dragon Slayer magic, we know, modifies the body in particular. We know that Dragon Slayer magic does this. We have the references with the fact that the dragons had to create antibodies to make sure that the kids didn't turn into dragons, and also that Laxus has mentioned that his lungs are kind of special, that his lungs are dragon lungs, and so they can handle a bit more pain and tolerance than most other lungs. We know that Dragon Slayer magic changes the body. We know other magics can do it to some extent. We know that the Demon Slayer magic can slightly influence a body. We've seen it with Grey to some degree. But the point I'm trying to make is that some magics can make you stronger by strengthening the magic, like physically. But not all magics do that. So when we have Rakade, what I really think is happening is the moment that Sting stepped there, Sting in particular, as he has made it aware, there is like an absolute rule that says in this universe, anything that is white and magic based cannot affect Sting, or Sting can effectively negate it or eat it. So when you have poor Rakade, whose magic apparently seems to be based around light and whiteness and holiness, it's a really bad matchup, because Sting right there can go in and he negates this guy's most dangerous magic. And I think it's as simple as that. There's two people here, one is using holy magic and one eats holy magic, and for all we know is getting stronger based on how much times he nullifies that particular holy magic. Riki didn't have a chance. I think it's just an absolute fundamental rule. Now, the only thing is that in Fairy Tail, this rule isn't constant. It's not really consistent. We've seen Natsu go up against, like, say, the Fire God Slayer, and we saw him struggle with that particular kind of flame until he figured out how to eat it. Riki's, maybe because it's not a god like fire or it's not a god white magic, maybe it's just a normal magic that just has really good effects, and that's why Sting can negate it so easily. Either way, I am gonna accept that as the overall reason as to why Riki went down, and I do think there's a lot of overestimation happening on the Spring and 12 side. And look, actually, let's be serious here. There's always been overestimation about the Spring and 12 because we've seen them go down really easily, and the only people who have really been showing the kind of threat have been Eileen and August. Everyone else is just kind of whatever. You know, there were some really good fights earlier in the arc, but overall some of them are jokes. Jacob, the assassin, is by far the biggest joke, just because his character was made so that people could take him down easily and for the purposes of the story. But at least when it comes back to Riki and the Sting situation, I like this fight. I really enjoyed this. Now, Sting in this chapter did go in and he said that it was a combination attack from Kagura, him, and Rogue. I thought he was being very nice, very inclusive, and even Kagura had to wonder why she included him. But I actually really enjoyed seeing how Rogue described going into the shadows, that it actually alters your state of consciousness, and seeing that sequence, I very much liked it. I like that when it comes to Sting and Rogue right now, it seems like their fight shows the most logic of how magic works, and it takes advantage of more of these kind of technical properties, whether it be the shadows kind of giving you this altered state of perception, or Sting just nullifying white magic because that's what he can do. It's a nice time to see, you know, because we got the foreshadowing that Mavis is this guy's mother, though I don't think that Riki will stay down. None of the Sprig and 12 have stayed down. Except, you know, yeah, only the one that got killed by Acnologia legitimately stayed down. And I guess the other guys that died too, they stayed down. Yeah, but they came back with the Historias. Regardless, no one has legitimately stayed down. We see them again, so I think Riki is going to have a second time around, and maybe Mavis is going to be involved. That's really what I think is going to happen. But for now, I think this was a good showing for Sting. I very much enjoyed it. This chapter was primarily a battle chapter for that first half, and I liked it. Now, to talk about the Natsu and Lucy stuff, and the Natsu going into his memory stuff, you know, I almost totally forgot about it. The fight sequence in this was much funnier and funner. Anyway, no. So Lucy has been told to strip and share heat with Natsu. Technically, that is one of the best ways to spread heat to another person. It's not just fan service, mind you. Hiro Mashima is probably going to use it as an opportunity for fan service, but in a survival situation, that is the best way to transfer heat. Like, heat from fire doesn't transfer as well, I think, if I'm recalling my biology correctly. Skin to skin contact, though, that works. That really works. So, you know, there's some logic to that. I appreciate that. Anyway, the Natsu flashback, or his kind of introspective journey, who exactly is the guide? Is it Zeref, or is it someone else, or is it like Natsu's consciousness? Because how does it have memory of things that Natsu doesn't have memory of? That's the only thing that I don't understand. If it's Zeref himself somehow in there, and then it's just Natsu's mind is changing the form. You know, it's a really weird kind of introspective magic going on there. But we got some really cool things, like who made Natsu's scarf, and that she looks a lot like Lucy. And yeah, Natsu's quote-unquote death is coming soon, and that's why he's kind of like in a really bad spot in the real world. And in the real world, he keeps uttering that he wants to beat Zeref. Now, I do think that's the END impulse in him, kind of like putting him towards that. And in this chapter, actually, I'm very happy that made Happy say something, because Happy is finally answering a issue that I had with this all the way since Natsu got stopped by Erza. Happy points out that, or it's kind of saying that Natsu's gonna die if he kills Zeref. And now this is the perfect segue to everyone else to find out what's going on with Natsu. Because really, I think this question should have been asked when Natsu first had demon hands in place of his regular hands. But it's gonna be addressed now, and Gray's awake. Gray obviously knows what's going on. That's why he looks so sad. But everyone there doesn't have any idea what's going on. So I'm happy that this is finally going to be acknowledged. Like, hey, you know, Natsu's kind of a demon made by Zeref, and now things are going to be kind of, yeah, it's going to be really sad if he dies. So I want to see that. I'm really happy that it's going to be finally happening, that people are going to acknowledge, like, yeah, something's seriously wrong with Natsu. Like, you know, things are going on. Anyway, I might be a bit harsh on that point. Regardless, I really like this chapter. The fight scene with Sting and Rakid, I think that was totally worth it. I enjoyed it. I think at the end of the day, it's a justifiable fight. Sting had help from Rogue. He had Dragon Slayer going on. He had a Dragon Force going on, most likely because he was using 2 magics at once. And he had home field advantage. Like, using white magic against Sting does seem to really put you in a bad disadvantage. Anyway, guys, I'm leaving it there. Thanks for watching, and till next time, I hope you have a great day.